maybe a holding bay, if I may use that. So, and the young man observed that anytime his grandfather would go before the attendees, he would kneel down, pray, and then step into the church and start preaching. So one day he became curious and asked, say, Grandpa, say, yes, my grandson, why is it that every day before you step onto the podium, you will kneel down and pray? Then the old man looks at him very curiously and said, you know what? Anytime I am about to step there, I kneel down and pray to God to let me say what the people want to hear. So the young man quickly retorted. He said, how come God does not have to answer your prayers? so I hope my prayers will be answered. Well, having said that, let me start by thanking you for inviting us, and I'm very glad that the coordinator, the person presenting us has completely covered the prelude of my presentation. So I don't need to repeat that because I am pressed of time. So let me go to the background and then we move forward. But let me say this. For those who knew when I took over the realm of administration of the Nigerian Customs Service, there was 3 key mandates that were given to me by Mr. President. And that's what we now today call in Nigerian Customs Service as the 3 R's. And the directive was very clear. When I was sent to Nigerian Customs Service, Mr. President said, I want you to go there, reform the service, restructure, and then raise revenue. Those were his clear words, and they were very unambiguous. So I knew when I stepped out of his office, I know where I'm going, and I know what I have been given. So today, in my press briefing, I will stick to these 3 mandates. I will address each one of them as to how far we've been able to make progress and what are the challenges, and then what we need to do going forward. The reforms that I talked about, which is the first part of it. And why do we choose reform as the first part of it? Because human capital is what makes an organization. If you're not able to get the human capital positively on your side, then the chances of success is very, very dismal. So in arranging those mandates, Mr. President is very much aware that we must first and foremost take cognizance of the human capital. And what do we do to make sure that you align the 15,000 plus Nigerian customs men and women along the line and the path of progress? So what we did was we created, first thing we needed to do is to look at our training and remodel it. And the best way we could do that is to come up with, we borrowed a leave from the army, thanks to where's my, the colonel. We borrowed a leave from the army. That was where I came from. We have what is called Nigerian Army TRADOC. TRADOC is Training Doctrine Command. It is the house where training is built, skewed and then screwed and modeled to fit the people you want to train. So the first thing we decided to do is to create a training and doctrine department responsible for the development of doctrine for mental and moral and ethical direction of officers. Because you must do that to get the captain. Then we introduce the implementation of the simplified modern business, because now that we have now found a focus for the human capital, what is next is in our own business of import, export, processing. So we address the issue of implementation of simplified modern business process, which of course, if you know, one of the gridlock we do have at the port is because we have so extensive procedures of clearance. There are over then, I think about 17 or so, or less than that, that you have to go through from one table to the other to get it sorted out. So the first thing to do is to reduce that time frame in order to make sure that an importer will not incur additional costs because he wants to clear his goods, because you begin to accumulate demurrage. And for every day the container stays in the hands of the terminal operators, they charge you. So the best thing you can do for any importer is to fast track the process of the clearance of this. So we address the issue of simplified the process of export import. Then we look at, because there are so many, if you look at the procedures. Huh? Oh, okay. I'm too far from it. Are you recording? Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, let me raise my voice. Probably it will balance for the. So what would we look at then? Having looked at the simplified and how we can reduce the processes and to a minimum number, so as to fast track the process. Then the next thing is to harmonize the process, because then in the custom palace we have different codes. If you know, those of you who have once cleared, or those who are importers behind the scene, or custom agents behind the scene, you know the processes. There are codes. There are HS code, what we call HS code, which are the harmonized system code. And those are what we use to identify categories of goods and what percentage of tariff is allocated to them. We haven't done that, then we now got back to addressing the issue of the human capital, and that's what is in there. Having looked at what we need, then we quickly look at the capacity building. We need to build capacity as in terms of our men. We need to come up with models of courses that needs to move the people to the level of the best practice globally. Custom, as you know, without saying, is a global organization. We have what we call the World Custom Organization, which we all belong to. And under that umbrella, we operate virtually the same codes globally. We harmonize our system globally. So we need to get our officers to that level where their own capacity to be able to perform at the best practice globally is attained. Then, of course, we try to create balance and control through optimal technology deployment. Today, I make bold to say Nigerian Customs Service is one of, if not the best, in terms of technological development and process. Our NICES 2, which we are very soon going to move into the trade modernization system, is the best. On that platform, we have, as of today, over 37 agencies that are keen there. And we believe that for us, that is the single window for Nigeria. because all trading partners key into that. They have access to it and they work on it. So we believe that that should be our single window as moving forward. But for today, that is our platform of operation. And everything we do in terms of import and export processing is automated. It's automated. Then, of course, we now need to partner with our mother organization, and that's the World Customs Organization, which is the organization that gives us the impetus to be able to access some of these things. So we work closely with them, and that's and then of course we have the PwC that help us to carry out the integrity perception survey among officers and stakeholders to identify weaknesses and create an organizational approach to issues concerning integrity. Well, if you know, integrity is one of yes. No, well, the camera is facing me. The camera is facing me. Don't worry. Okay, thank you very much for the correction. All right. Integrity is one of our biggest concern in what we do. And because the custom operation gives so much discretion to officers, and therefore, just like bankers, we are also under the same pressure and monitoring to ensure that our officers are optimal in terms of integrity. So we needed to work with not only our own organization, global organization, but also private audit firms like PwC, Pricewater Corporation, to be able to do some survey and give us a position as to where we are with regards to our integrity. And thank God we have done exceptionally well in that, and we will continue to improve on it. There's no end to it, but I believe that the more we work on it, the better we will get. And at the end of the day, the better the result that we will have. So we move from, next slide, please, from the reforms that we put in place, and then we now look at the structure. What do we need to do with the structure? Is what on the ground good enough for us to be able to execute optimally our mandate, or do we need to tinker with it? And I want to assure you that between me and the management of the Nigerian Customs Service, having looked at it holistically, we believe we need to unbundle some commands and units. Unbundling means we have to open up, create more commands in order to cover more areas, and then create more specialized commands to take care of specialized areas. And that we will see. Unbundling of commands units and creation of new commands to achieve strategic objectives. E.g., example, non-intrusive inspection area, that is the scanners. We need to have specialized people to manage the scanners. We also look at the marine, because that is a special. The gentleman sitting right behind you is a marine officer to the core. He grew up in that sector, and he is our expert when it comes to marine. So we have to boost that, because we are not only fighting smuggling along the land borders, we are also fighting smuggling along the creeks. We are also collaborating with Nigerian Navy to ensure that we monitor our high seas. As of today, we have seagoing boats that we use for patrols on the high sea. So the marine aspect is very, very important to us. And also, we have an air wing. I'm sure a lot of people do not know that Nigerian Customs Service has an air wing until we closed the border. That was when we maximally used our air platforms. At that time, as of today, we have one jet aircraft, Cessna, and then we have 2 Bell helicopters. Those are used for patrols and the monitoring of our border. We are in the process of acquiring additional aircraft. Hopefully, if we get the approval from FEC, to buy 1 more additional operational aircraft, and that's to enhance our capability to be able to monitor our borders and effectively implement our mandate of anti-smuggling. So we also, the oil and gas is expanding. There are so many free trade zones now that have oil in them. So we needed that, and we created a separate command to be able to look after the free trade zone and ensure that effective operational capability is enshrined. Then, of course, we get back. We can any time we're doing these things, we must continuously look at the human aspect of what we're doing, and then we enhance human resource management by ensuring proper element of officers and men, define clear paths for career progression, and ensure promotions based on merit. You may know that when I came into Nigerian Customs Service, there were promotions going on quite okay, but I must confess that there was no standing operational procedure for promotions. And what will kill the morale of officers is not knowing when they are due for promotion and when they should be promoted. We, at the management level, we set up a committee and came up with an SOP. And that SOP clearly defines time frame for officers. How many years would you spend on a particular rank? And at what time would you be qualified for a promotion exam? And if you pass your promotion exam, how are you? What becomes of your promotion? All those ones were well articulated in our standing operational procedure. So today, every custom officer knows he can project in the next 5 years, 10 years. He knows where he's going to be, all things being equal. So, and that helps a lot in terms of morale and in terms of commitment. So that, having put that aside, then we enhance the welfare of officers and men. Salary, we were able, and I would thank Mr. President, because we made a proposal to use certain fund that is by law being collected by us, and that's the CISS, Comprehensive Import Supervision Scheme. That is a 1% FOB that is collected on every import that you bring in. It was meant to finance pre-destination export agents. But gradually, the World Customs Organization realized that if you allow the departing goods agent to now inspect your container and then give it a clean bill, you never know. Somebody who is not a national, he does not have your interest. You will find out that probably by the time the container lands, there will be grenades in those containers. You never know. So what in effect is that the World Customs Organization protested and said we must now revert back to ensuring destination inspection. So therefore, the use of contractors were removed, and that fund is now used to finance custom to be able to carry out the destination inspection. And that's why we acquire scanners and improve our import-export capability. So part of that money is what we requested, Mr. President, and he graciously approved part of it for us to augment the salaries of officers. I must confess, when I came in, I was a bit disappointed coming in from the military, I discovered that customs that is expected to generate revenue, and with a lot of discretion, is paid very minimal. Their salary was one of the lowest. So together at the management, we came up with this process, and we were lucky, very lucky that we have a listening president, and he graciously approved. So today, I must say, customs officers are comfortably paid what is due to them. That is one. Then, of course, in the area of accommodation, housing, both office and residential accommodation. The Nigerian Customs Service, just like other military and paramilitary organizations, are the ones that have been up to today approved to have barracks. It's not every government agency that can retain barracks, but we are lucky to have been under the list of those that should retain barracks. So based on that, we have to improve seriously on our housing facilities. As at today, we have what we call the 16-man rank and file, which we build normally at the borders. Prior to this time, you find out that my officers rent houses from smugglers. It may interest you to know that the rich people at the borders are always the smugglers, and they are the ones that have properties. And of course, my officers cannot stay under the rain and so on, so they have to find a roof. And the only way you can, the people that have the roof are smugglers. So there's a chances of compromise. So we now felt the first thing to do is to remove them from that enclave and give them independence by making sure that they have their own accommodation and they are comfortable. And we have invested so much in that area. Today, I must confess that most of our officers are comfortably accommodated in their own residential quarters. And we also equipped our offices, modified a lot of things, getting a lot of computers, and of course, we also ensure that we developed what we called an SOP for posting. Prior to my coming into customs, posting is not standardized. You find an officer may stay in one place for 10, 15 years, and then he becomes a landlord. Chances of compromise becomes more. And so the only way you can minimize that is to ensure regular movement of officers. So we agree at the management that the maximum time an officer should spend in one posting place is 3 years. After 2 to 3 years, you must be moved to another place, so that familiarity between you and whoever uses where you are will not be there. Secondly, that also gives our officers, as well, all over the nation, it gives them more experiences of all other areas. You find yourself today, you are in Enugu, and then tomorrow, after 3 years, we move to Sokoto, and then probably next you are in Seme border. So it gives you a whole complete total picture of your areas of operation. So having done that, then it's also removed the chances of corrupting people. Then we also look at our healthcare facility. Today, those of you who probably live around Karu, one of the best hospitals today that can be compared to the National Hospital is our hospital in Karu. We have virtually every equipment that you need there. We spent money because we want to ensure our social corporate responsibility is enhanced. It is one of the cheapest in terms of services. It's one of the best. And we only did not stop there. We signed an MOU with National Hospital. They have pool of surgeons, experts. So we make use of that. And they always come to our hospital to conduct operations, to also do the normal, regular medical services. So that has given us a very strong pillar. Therefore, our officers are healthy. Those that, for any reason, fall sick are well taken care of. So these are welfare areas that you must not play with if you want your troops to be on alert. Then I must say this has to do with my background. When I was in the military, those who knows me are not too young to remember. I was wearing red cap, which then means military police. So I was in the military police most part of my service in the army. So I took that experience, and when I got to custom, and I discovered that dispensation of justice and, of course, enforcement, if you use the civil service format, whereby if somebody commits an act, you have to now send a query, and then he reply the query, and then you wait for this. By the time you even get to punishing the man, people begin to wonder, what did he do? Because they have forgotten. So the only way I thought we could fast track this process for those who have criminal tendencies is to create a custom police. And we are lucky, the management approved it, the board of Nigerian Customs Service approved it, so we have a custom police in place. And their mandate is straight. When you commit an offense, we pick you up, we put you under detention, and then do the 24-hour investigation, and you face the disciplinary committee, and God knows what happens from there. So it is fast track our process of strictly enforcing discipline. And then we introduce a strategic partnership to meet the long-term goals of the service, boost intra-organizational communication. When I took over, one of the first things I did was I realized that Nigerian Customs Service cannot effectively carry out its mandate without collaboration with other agencies. So I virtually visited almost every agency and request that we join hands to make sure that especially those that operate within the marine subsector. Those are very critical to what we do, from NPA to what is it called, Shippers Council, to NIMASA, that's right. So lots of them that operate within the ports area, we try to create a synergy. And this, when I mentioned the fact that 37 agencies are on our platform today, all these agencies that operate within the port area are on our platform. And so we interact on electronically. Those that we do is joint inspection with them. We interact electronically, the SSS, drug, NDLE, the quarantine people, and host of others. So for us to be able to fast track and do our business quickly, we conjoin on the platform, and that is one of the bases of our collaboration with other agencies. Then, of course, we created, those of you who cares to watch NTA, anytime 30 minutes before the network news on Monday, you see customs program. We call it custom duty. That we felt was not good enough for us to be able to showcase what we do and enlighten and educate people. So we came up with the custom broadcasting network, which is operational, and that is 100% customs process and procedures. We believe that is the best way we can educate people, enlighten people, and put them on the side of making sure that they do not go wrong in their day-to-day activities. I think that was then, of course, the organizational structure is then this edifice you are seeing now, hopefully in the next 2 months, we'll call Mr. President to commission it. Is the corporate headquarters of the Nigerian Customs Service. Can you bring it back, please? Can you roll it back? Yes. Good. Can you just hold it there? Yeah, no, back. Okay, now we're getting there. Okay, hold it there. Can you hold it, Byron? Well, this will be the corporate headquarters of the Nigerian Customs Service, and it's going to be one of the most cheapest edifices that is ever built by any government. Because we have been very prudent, we have been painstaking. I have sacked contractors over and over, and we are still working. But I assure you, by God's grace, in the next 2 months, this edifice will be ready for Mr. President's commission, inshallah. It's located behind NCC. You know where NCC is? Yes. NIPC? Yes. Yes. Yeah? It's located behind NCC. For those of you who want to take a look at it and ascertain what I'm saying, it's an edifice that I think we are not spending all up to today. All we have spent on this is 19 billion. 19 billion. Nobody can give you this at the price we are taking. Nobody. So this is one aspect that then next, I think we also align our people with looking at it this way. The fight against smuggling, which is one of the toughest aspect of our part of mandate, is becoming tougher by the day. Smugglers are getting more sophisticated. We have encountered smugglers that are not only using AK-47, but they are using submachine guns. So we also have to modify our own operations. And in the acquisition of our vehicles, we used to use the Hilux. This was some of the posts were talking. We used to use the Hilux, but we discovered that the Hilux has limitation when it comes to mobility in rugged areas. So we had to go for the Buffaloes. These ones are the ones that the military uses. These ones are the 5-gear speed vehicles. They can maneuver anywhere. And we have to configure them in a more combative way in order to create that fear among the smugglers. With this, we launched, I think we have 75 in our inventory today. We are now going to buy in the next 2022-2023 budget year. We hope to get multiple hundreds of this into our arsenal, because we have found out that they are very effective and very, very convenient for our own operation. Then we also, like I mentioned, we have been acquiring boats, speed boats for the marine, and also seagoing boats for the high sea operations. As of today, in fact, I think last week I received the notice from, you see this, we launched these ones about 6 months ago, and we have now also, we've taken the delivery of these ones. And we are given a contract for, they've just, I received the completion certificate from the company that they have now built the additional 14 boats for us. So we continue to multiply on our arsenal with regards to fighting this. These are some of the boats that we, at a close look, these are some of the boats that we use for the creek, and some of the high sea boats are bigger than this and much more capacity. These are gunboats. They are mounted with, so we have to be as lethal as we can be. We're not only fighting smugglers, there are also pirates on the high sea. So we must be ready to be able to counter some of these things. So these are some of the arsenals we do get. And next, now the big one, and that is raising revenue. All these things we build is towards making sure that at the end of the day, we'll be able to collect the revenue that is collectible for Nigeria. And we cannot do that without putting those things in place. And today, I must say, we have been able to perfect some of our system from being electronically viable to the capacity of our officers to be able to do the job in the best way possible, and also based on equipment. We came up with a multi-strategic approach to blocking revenue leakage. What used to happen is not that there was no import or export coming in and going out. It is that there are so many leakages. And the best you can do is to come up with a system to make sure that you block these leakages. And that's what we do. It's not that the volume of import or export has increased far more than it used to be. It is that we have been able to succeeded as a management to identify those leakages, and we are working assiduously to block them one after the other. And it is the speed at which we block this that will increase our revenue generation from time to time. And that's why we move from 876 billion in a year to today, as at the last collection, we are at 2 trillion. We are pushing, but also there are factors that are also pushing back. There are some anticipations that we did. There are things that we factor into our collection that we hope that if they had taken place on time, like the carbonated drinks that was approved for us. We didn't get to start collection until about half part of the year. So we've lost the first part of the year. Which that means whatever would have been collected would have been added to our realization of the target is not there. Also, the telecommunication tariff. If some of you probably are aware of the little controversy that came up, whether it should be collected or not be collected, but fortunately it is an act of the National Assembly. And since it is an act, and as signed by Mr. President, it has become a law and we have to effect it. If it has to be reversed, then of course it must come back as a law too. And Mr. President will now assent to that notification, and then we stop. So we are working now to make sure that we collect that money, but we're late. We're late. We're not sure we'll get much from it between now and December. So those factors may affect our revenue, but despite that, the men and women of Nigerian Customs are working very assiduously to make sure that we collect whatever is collectible, so that Mr. President will have some money to be able to run the government of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. This is the graph vividly that you could see one to the revenue profile. As of 2014, you see where we were, and then 2016 when we came in, and then 2017 it begin to rise. And then 2018, you saw where it's going. And then 2022. Now at 2021. Now at 2022, we are at the 2 trillion mark. And it is our hope that we will get to the 3 trillion mark. If not, at least to the 2.5 trillion by the end of the year. So this is the profile. And this, of course, gives you the graph in terms of seizure. We do seize, there's no doubt about it. We do seize items, and one of the biggest seizure that we have been doing is rice. And we are lucky, and we thank Mr. President for agreeing with Nigerian Customs that we must put a stop to the importation of rice. And that one decision that has been taken has sustained this country. If we had not embarked on self-sufficiency in terms of the production of rice in Nigeria, within the COVID period, we would have had one of the worst crises, because then there were no ships coming from India or Asia to bring rice. I don't know what we would have had, but we thank God that Mr. President quickly realized that. I came up with the policy with regards to self-sufficiency, and our farmers took that as a challenge, and therefore the availability of rice that is produced locally is what has sustained this country up to today. And we are still working at that. We're making sure that despite the forces that work against us, because there's a lot of rice that is being brought into Benin Republic and then smuggled into Nigeria. What probably some of you would not know is that there are two types of rice. There's the sticky one, especially for the women, and there's the parboiled rice, which is the one we eat in Nigeria. Somehow, I don't know whether it is by colonization or whatever, all the former French colonies eat the sticky one. Those of who are the Anglophone colonies eat the parboiled one. If you go to Ghana, you find the same rice that we eat, and that's why they do their love rice very well with it. Here we eat the same rice. So, but the highest importer of parboiled rice today in Africa, in West Africa, is Benin Republic. And why is this so? Our own people goes to all these countries, import this and take it to Benin. And then when they take it to Benin, it's easier to smuggle along the borders into Nigeria. And that's why up to today, when you go to market, you'll still find foreign rice being sold. And that's why when sometimes customs decide to raise market, you hear all the noise. But it's because we want to remove this dependency. Secondly, we want to save the life of people. This rice that comes from this foreign land, the minimum time those rice have spent in silos are 2-3 years. Those that goes to buy this rice are Indians mostly and Lebanese. They will not buy the first class one because it's expensive. So they go for these ones that are less expensive. Because in those rice producing countries, after 2, 3, 4 years, if they cannot sell those rice, they dump it in the sea. So it is at the point of almost giving out this thing that this guy goes to buy this thing. And you must also understand that this rice does not preserve itself. They use chemicals to preserve it so that it looks fresh at any given time. So this is where the problem is. And that's why we are doing everything to make sure that we prevent and stop the importation of rice into this country so that we eat our own rice. Those of you who cook rice, over 24 hours, open each one of them. Our own Nigerian rice and the imported one. Smell it. You will know the difference. You will hear the odor. Ours will be fresh. Ours will be fresh, and this one will have a distinct odor. because it's chemicalized. It's chemicalized, and that's what we consume. And that's why you find a 22-year-old, 25-year-old having colon cancer. And you begin to wonder, how did it happen? It is this type of things that happen. So when you see us fighting and making sure that these things, help us please, those of you in the press. We want to save the lives of Nigerians, and we want to make sure that we become self-sufficient. Then we have what we call trade facilitation. I'm sure many of you know that. I'm sure we have been taken to task many a times that we are not supposed to be collecting revenue. We are supposed to facilitate trade. But in a developing nation like ours, both two must go pari passu. You have to facilitate trade and at the same time collect revenue, because our revenue takes a position, a percentage in the collective cost that government spends. In advanced nations where facilitating trade, and you concentrate more on facilitating trade, then there's going to be problem. So what you do is try to balance the two, and that's what we're doing in the Nigerian Customs Service. So the fast track, we now came prior to we have what we call the fast track. There are two processes of fast tracking clearance of goods, so that when they bring in their raw materials, it can quickly be moved to their own that time frame within which to be able to have their raw materials at the factory for manufacturing. But gradually now we are trying to expand that, and that's what we now move to fast track 2.0. The fast track 2.0 gives a room now for us to incorporate almost all importers, not only those importing raw materials for their industries, all importers. But it hinges on trust. On trust. You must be compliant. You must be compliant, which then means that over a period of time within which you import these goods, that you have been compliant. You have been paying your duty. You have not been you have not been cheating by under declarance, or you have not cut corners in such a way that you are dishonest. Based on a period of our own then you will now shortlist you as a member of the fast track process. The fast track gives you the opportunity to clear your goods within a minimum time, because we have the trust that if you tell us you brought razor blades in a container, we believe they are razor blades. Not that you tell us you have brought razor blades and then when we open, we see granite or tiles or 3, 4, 5 vehicles that are loaded and then locked up, and you see the vehicles, they are all state-of-the-art vehicles. This is what happens, and that's why we believe the use of the of scanners is very key to the improvement of revenue generation. I hasten to say that our biggest problem with most importers in Nigeria, is that we are a little bit dishonest. We are dishonest. We are either undervalued. When it comes to declaration, we don't declare what, or you find a container, 40-feet container. The importer will put 3 items. The first item deep there attracts 20%. The middle attracts maybe 10%. Then he will now come to the last part of it and put those items that attract only 5%. And when it comes to declaration, he will declare those that the entire container contains these ones that attracts 5%. If you don't have a scanner, it becomes difficult. Because to upload 40-feet container, it takes a whole day for you to see what is there. And that's why we keep pushing and making sure that we acquire scanners in order to make sure that we electronically examine our imports. And that will enhance our own collection, because where you misrepresent what is there, the system will show us, and we will charge you for what is there, not what you say is there. So, as of today, very soon, I think by next month, we'll be launching, the Honorable Minister of Finance will be going to Lagos and Port Harcourt to launch the 3 mobile scanners that have been acquired, deployed, and are now functional. Those will increase the capability of Nigerian Customs Service in terms of clearance. First, it will increase the process, the speed of clearance. Secondly, it will increase our revenue, because now there's no room for under-declaration. There's no room for misrepresentation of the goods that you have, because these scanners can tell you exactly everything. It's an organic scanners that picks everything to the minutest detail, and therefore we'll know if you are telling lies or you're telling the truth. So that will help us. Then, of course, we also look at having covered the import-export. We have the excise and industrial incentives. That is the one that most advanced countries make their money from, because most countries are highly industrialized, and therefore they collect excise far more than what they collect on import and export, because for them, they export more than they import. They only import raw materials. In our case, we import more of finished product than raw materials. Even the export, we export less raw materials than we import finished goods. That of course, that's what creates the trade imbalance between us and the advanced countries. And what we hope, and I always say this, that as the Controller General of Nigerian Customs Service, I'm looking forward to the day that we will be collecting more excise money, because then we now know that we are deploying our money inwards. We are spending our money within the country, because for every duty, yes, we are happy we collect import duty, but it then means that we are financing other industries outside Nigeria, because these goods are coming as finished goods, and we are spending our money to buy them. And that's why we're always running helter-skelter for foreign exchange. So it is our hope that gradually, with the industrial policies of Mr. President, things will change, and then we will begin to have more industries paying excise than collecting import duty. So what we have done in that area is to ensure that we come up with electronic process of making sure that we collect. Now that we have started collecting the carbonated drinks tax, it has increased our take by almost 10.2% since the inception of that tariff. We're also looking forward to the full inclusion of the telecommunication tariff, which will also increase our revenue. We're also looking forward to having other goods that will now come into the tariff line, because there are a lot of us, one of the things that we do that is also inimical to what we collect is that we grant a lot of waivers. We are a nation that loves everybody. You find an industry coming in and you say, well, we've given the tax-free period for about 10 years. And then after 10 years, he's now applying for another 10 years. If after 10 years you have not matured enough to be able to survive, then you should die. Money. The money belongs to 200 of it, because they don't want to show that they are viable, and so they should pay tax. So we are working electronically and scientifically to be able to survey and get it to companies and make sure that we bring them to the tax table, because that most countries, well, you know this again, a group that the goose. your line with new changes of our system to be able to capture that. Anytime there's a change within 24 hours, once central banks give us the new rate, we effect that. You can't call me. I'm talking about 7 years. So I'm not talking about one day. So allow me to allow me to give you. I'm trying to be as stingy as I can in this, but it's difficult to go through these things without explanation. And more so that custom is a very technical organization. If we don't explain, there may be some issues that may be misconstrued. So I'm sorry, but just I will round off, not too long from now. Okay, we also, I want to say here that when we as a management, we look at our system, there are so many changes that we effected. When I came to customs, we have the auction. The mode of auction was allocation then. They allocate the seized goods. What happens is that when we seize goods and get it condemned, and then get the court to forfeit it, then it now becomes federal government property. And it is at that point that customs, under the law, can now auction those goods. But I must say, it was not done the way it should be. So when I came in conjunction with the management, we sat down and reviewed the whole process. We now discovered that we can do it better, and we can generate more revenue by being transparent. So I made a proposal to Mr. President that we need to modify the procedure for auction, and he approved it. So we went through our electronic processes, get our ICT team to sit for 3 months, and they were able to come up with a platform. And that's what today we call e-auction. We auction all seized items, be it container or cars, online. Those of you who are familiar with the American auction, that's the same model we are applying. You just click on this thing. I did 1,000 that you pay and then get on the highway, and then you click and you now view all the vehicles, because we put every vehicle online. You can view the vehicle, decide which one, and then make your bid. If you're lucky to be the last bidder, by the time the time is up, then you are the winner, and then you pay and you go and collect your vehicle. It's as simple as that. So that has increased our revenue generation by some percentage. We also, excuse me. No, I'm fasting. You want me to break my fast? Thank you. Thank you for being so generous. So we developed that. Then in continuation of that, we also have this, what is called VIN valuation. Prior to this, the establishment of the VIN valuation, what we used to do is we have the valuation process of how to come up with the value of your vehicle. It's done using documentation, but we now, with technology and everyday growing, we now came up with a system, a platform today that all we need to do, because importers used to tell lies. There's one thing they call accidented vehicle. They will remove the bumper, remove the rear light, remove the front light, and then tell you it was accidented. And then, of course, would compromise with some of my officers. Then it will be passed, a brand new vehicle will be passed as accidented. Or you find a model of 2022, the agents will go and declare as 2015. And then they will work it out, and the vehicle will be passed, and you pay that duty for 20, because there's a depreciation value. So 2015 vehicle cannot be the same amount with 2022 vehicle. But that vehicle is 2022. But because there's a compromise between the agents and my officers, sometimes they get. So we develop this BIM valuation. The moment you put the chassis number on the system, it will give you the history of that. The day it was made, where it was made, the color when it was made, and how many years it has spent, if it has any the mechanical problem, you all get it. So it's for the custom officer do not need to go and look at. You just give him this data and he will tell you this is it and this is what you are supposed to pay as duty. It has tremendously increased our take when it comes to duty, and it has saved a lot of importers from having agents, what we call agents, what is it, the microcosm, because you see, let me just divert a little bit and educate people. Sometimes an agent, most of our agents are not transparent. You import a vehicle, 2020 vehicle. You give him your documents and say, here's my bill of lading manifest and everything. Give me the bill of how much I'm supposed to pay. He will give you the correct rating, the correct everything, and then he will now tell you, pay that money into my account, because it was only my account that I can use to pay into the system, the single treasury account. You pay, you give him the money. He will remove that paper that he showed you, and then go and declare that car as 2015. So there's a depreciation. Whatever is the difference, that goes to his pocket. And that car will be cleared as 2015. Your custom papers will read 2015. Then when you are driving and feeling comfortable on the highway and a custom officer stops you and say, please, can I see your custom papers? And you give it to him because you're confident you did everything right. Then he looks at it and says, sir. He quickly put the chassis number on his phone and he tells him that your car is 2020 model and you paid duty of 2015 model. Then there's short payment, and that's what we call. So from there, they say, no, sir, you have not paid the correct duty. We will hold on to the vehicle until you pay what we call demand notice. They will give you the additional fund. And then people begin to shout and call me and say, CG, this is criminal. How can I pay my car? Everything correct. And then custom is now telling me, is it not the same custom that cleared it? So I said, wait. What is the problem? The problem is simple. You want, and we are all victims. We are all victims. When I give an agent my papers and he clears the car, I don't even sit down to begin to look at whether the computation and everything is correct. The fact that he has brought my yellow sheet, I will just put it in the glove compartment and then go and register my car. But the truth of the matter is that the man has changed. It's not what he gave you that he finally paid. So people must be aware. And that's why we said, as of today, every time you want to either buy a car or agent is with this system, you can do your transaction on your own. You put your BIN number, put this in and get on the platform. It will tell you how much you're supposed to pay, including all charges. You can effect your payment online. And all you need to do, if you don't want to go and collect it, you can get an agent to go and process and collect your vehicle for you. Simple. So it saves all these misgivings. Then, of course, I made mention of the special economic zones. These are areas that we need to pay more attention to. We are training our officers more and more. It's an area that is expanding by the day. And Nigerians are buying into free trade zones faster than anything else. And that's why we initially told you that we had to create separate commands to be able to meet that aspiration. And today, there are about 42 registered free trade zones, of which 25 are currently operational in the country. And then the rest will soon be on board. And then these zones have attracted investment of over $36.6 billion in foreign direct investment, and over 255 billion naira in local investment. So there's a lot of massive investment going on there. And some of you who probably do not know, the free trade zones are a country within a country in terms of their production. You can bring in raw material, produce it in that free zone, and export it without paying anything to Nigeria. But if you want to introduce the finished product into custom territory, you have to pay duty. The only difference is that in this case, you pay as if you are bringing the raw material into the country, not a finished product. Not a finished product, because you have added value to it. So if somebody is bringing the same material but imported as finished, he pays higher tax than you. Because you are only paying for the value of the raw material. So this, and I'm sure that's why many operators are now taking leverage of the free trade zone, because it gives them a little percentage. And this. So we also have the one that has just come up recently, and in conjunction with NTA, we have now created an export terminal. We used to have problem where we combine both the import and export terminals as the same platform. And therefore, you find out that sometimes when the ships that brought in goods are still battling, you cannot take out goods. So it creates a bottleneck for those who are exporting their goods. And in most cases, we export raw material. So if they stay longer in the port, they get rotten and spoiled. So in conjunction with export with NPA, we have now completed and established an export terminal. We will be creating more, but the first one is the one at Lily Pond at Ijora. It's functional now. All export goods goes there. All the examination is finished there, and then from there they move straight to the ships for export. So that has completely changed the order by which exporters export their goods. And then, of course, our fulcrum, and that's the modernization. If you remember, if you recall, I made mention of the fact that one of the things that we pay attention to particularly is the electronification, the ICT aspect of our operation. And that is what we have been pursuing for a very long time. Fortunately, now we have gotten the e-process approved. The modernization, the concessionaires have signed all the agreement. Very soon, we'll have a full-fledged modernization process that will take up. And that will give us an end-to-end electronic system. It will not only enhance our revenue, it will also create room for us to be able to secure this country with regards to imports of illicit goods. It will also give us the chance to be able to connect with the global best practice, because then it will also give us the chance to monitor and completely be able to monitor and protect our borders. It is also a system that will enhance our day-to-day administration, because at the advent of the completion of this project, the entire process in customs will be automated, which means everybody from CG to the last person will not have paper. No more paperwork in custom. Everybody will have to be connected to the computer. With them means fast business, fast, speedy clearance, speedy processing. So our hope is that this, once it comes into place, we hope the revenue will grow exponentially, about 30%, hopefully every year, by increase with regards to the entire project. Will be about 20 years, and I think about $3.8 or so billion will be invested in the entire project, and we hope that by the time we are fully automated and it sets up at the end of the 20 years, we are hoping that Nigeria will be able to make about $176 billion from that project. And it is the only project today in this government that is futuristic. It is the project that has now keyed into Mr. President's policy of diversification of revenue sources, because this one will be non-oil revenue source, and is something that for us in custom that we hold close to our heart. And it is our belief that at the end of the day, when it's fully automated, we would get to the best of what we require in terms of security, in terms of revenue, in terms of making sure that our processes are properly aligned with global best practice. Then, of course, they say, if you don't blow your trumpet, nobody will blow it for you. So all this that I'm saying, in the course of our doing business, there are agencies and people that looked at what we are doing and give us a handshake and say, well done. And I think NIDA is one of them, being our regulatory body when it comes to ICT producing. We won, as you can see on the board, 2 best awards, best e-governance in 2015 and then best MDA category 2015. The Nigerian Telecommunication Award also 2015, best use of social media government agency. And then, of course, 2015 to date, representing the West Africa and the Policy Commission. This is a way of saying, recognizing our importance in the WCO, that we were members of the Policy Commission, which is the biggest body of policy formulation of WCO. We've been a member until this year, when we ascended to the position of the vice chair of the sub-region of the custom, which is West and Central Africa. That also was bestowed on Nigeria because of our excellence in performance. So today we are holding the seat of the vice chair of the entire West and Central African sub-region of the WCO. And that's why we had to relinquish the Policy Commission position. And also, we have the Nigerian Technology Award 2018, Best in Emerging Technologies, Federal Agency, and then Most Dynamic and Innovative Innovation, Federal Agency Public 2021. And then, of course, like I said, we are today the sitting vice chair of the Central and West African sub-region of the World Customs Organization. With this, I would want to thank you, and I hope that I've been able to, as I said in my prayers, say what you want to hear, and then we'll see when the questions begin to come up. Thank you very much.
Information is power. Everyone wants power. So feel powerful with the NTA News mobile app, the one-stop information center. Real news at your fingertip. Be the first to report by uploading first-hand information on the U Report link. And be the first to know by simply clicking on any of the links on the sidebar for headlines, domestic and foreign news, economy, security, politics, sports, and more. Stream live on your smartphone and tablets and stay connected. It's pretty easy. Simply download NTA News app from your Google Play Store and you're good to go. NTA News mobile app, no access in real time.